Beautiful. Okay, who's grateful? Yeah, good. Yeah, you can't listen to that song without your heart being wide open. So I was watching them dance, and it just brings so much joy to me. It changes my entire energetic field, right? I was just studying about sound energy a couple of days ago, and it's like, ooh, I'm grateful. So it's a perfect song segue for today's talk, which is on the prosperous heart. Yes, the prosperous heart which lives in us. So I'm going to begin before I even go into the materials that I prepared with you. I want to share with you my understanding of the heart that completely reframed how I saw the heart, right? Because when we were grade school children, when we were little kids, we all go to school and we learn about stuff. And we usually learn it from intellectual learning, book study. It's always about the brain. It's always about the brain. But they didn't say, hey, we're going to let you go to school and cultivate your heart, right? That would be a totally different world. So I'm going to share with you some information from Heart Math. Some of us already know this, so this could be just review, but it's a reminder. So the heart, it's not just a pump. It has its own neural network, kind of like the heart brain, they call it. And the information that the heart sends to the brain is greater than the information that the brain sends to the heart. And electromagnetically, it is the strongest organ in your body, so that the emanation from the heart goes and extends several fields out. So a heart rhythm, they have a coherent and incoherent heart rhythm. Coherent is smooth, incoherent is jagged, right? So when you're angry or upset or in despair, grieving, etc., you may be incoherent. When you're in joy, in peace, in love, sunshine, then you're coherent, right? After prayer, meditation. And I'm sharing this with you because your inner state literally touches those around you. It changes the world. And so this topic is not just a talk for me. Like the heart is really very much part of my DNA, my spiritual DNA, my electromagnetic DNA, my heritage. So I consider myself a heart-centered person. A lot of us do. Some of us are Yanis, head-centered, very intellectual. That's our path to God. Mine is through my heart. And so I inherited my heart-centered way of being from my mother, who passed away when I was 16. She prayed when I was growing up. I saw her pray all the time. She prayed to Kuan Yin. That's the bodhisattva of compassion. I didn't really understand what that was all about. And I didn't understand why as a child. But over time, as I began to grow up and reclaim those pieces of myself that I didn't understand, those lost, abandoned, denied pieces of myself through shadow work and other teachings, I'm sure that by the time we get here, we've been through a lot of different workshops, right? I understood it in a deeper way. And when I learned the science behind heart math, the science behind the heart, it all made sense to me. It confirmed what she knew this whole time about coming back to the heart and compassion, because when we bring our heart with us, it is the rocket fuel. It is the secret sauce to our becoming, so to speak. And they don't tell you this in regular school. They just say, sit here, take tests, learn by your brain. But if you allow your heart to take center stage, backed by your brain, your world completely changes. What does she say? Open your heart, keep it open, completely wide open. And a lot of times we close our hearts when we feel vulnerable. And so the challenge for you today is to consider keeping your heart open, regardless of situation, circumstance, or whatever is going on with life, because life will be lifey, and we're always in process, right? Okay, so now I'm going to get into the talk. So this is not about new principles. You guys already know about all of this, right? And we affirm all the time that I am one with divine source, one power, one presence. I am supplied, and I am whole. And yet, sometimes we feel stuck. If you're human, a lot of times we feel stuck. That's just the way it is, right? That's why we're here. We're here to learn lessons. It almost feels as though there's something blocking your flow. And the real journey, it's prosperous heart. The real journey is not toward prosperity. The real journey is a home to your heart, home to your center, which is the divine within us all, right? So the deeper question that I would invite you to ask is, what spiritual clutter stands in the way of what you already know is yours? What is your spiritual clutter? Because answering that question, and in context of today's daily word, to serve, it doesn't just serve us, it serves the community when we remove the clutter. So here's some roadblocks that you may not see. And these roadblocks sometimes are not dramatic. Sometimes they're really very subtle, which requires us to pay attention. Sometimes they're very quiet and familiar to a point of patterns. And when we've been living our lives 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years long, we may not see the patterns. They become over there. We're kind of like in this holding pattern, right? So the first one is already always listening. Some of us who have gone through Landmark Forum or EST may notice that saying, already always listening. That we hear through old filters, that we're not really present. That's not, I already heard that. I'm already listening to what you're saying and thinking about what I'm going to respond to. Those are roadblocks. You're interpreting what the other person is communicating or what life is trying to communicate with you. You're not even hearing it because you're already always listening. Roadblock number one. Roadblock number two is spiritual bypassing. So we use affirmations all the time. But spiritual bypassing is when you use affirmations to avoid the deeper emotional shadow work. When you bypass doing your work by just saying an affirmation, because that's what we do here. Number three is energetic congestion. What is that? Well, think about congestion, like a cough, right? You're coughing. There's something in the way. So what I mean by this is unforgiven resentments, shame, grief, unprocessed stuff. Fill in the blank. We all have them. We're human. So our job almost is to identify, what is stopping me? What is stopping me? Those energetic congestion, those blocks kind of cloud your feel like static on the radio, like fog, right? And then the last one is to say, I already know this. I already know this. And so this is really, I love this one because when we're new at something, we get really excited. And you can say when you're learning something new, it could be learning spiritual concepts. Remember when you first got into this field called spiritual healing and you found unity, and you learn, you're eager to learn all these concepts. And then after a while, being here 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I already know this. I don't need to listen. I don't need to hear about it. It goes the same thing with pottery, because I do pottery, or painting, or writing, or whatever subject you want to fill in the blank with. So the voice of spiritual arrogance, in this case, closes your energy. And prosperity can't come into a locked heart. So I'm going to talk about each one of these in a little bit more detailed. So it's not your prosperity that's missing, it's your capacity to receive. That's what may be blocked. And so sometimes the things blocking your prosperity is sort of a bypass. And so I'm going to just share with you a personal story of mine. This was years ago when I was going through ministerial school. So you can imagine ministerial school was like, oh, this is a dream. I'm learning about myself. I'm learning all these spiritual concepts. I have teachers. I have prayer. I have meditation. Everything looked beautiful on the surface. I was also expecting a baby, by the way. Right. I was on the advanced placement course during ministerial school. I had the practice as well. So I was surrounded by everything I thought was what I wanted. And at the same time, the business that my husband and I were running was quietly struggling. For whatever reason, it was struggling. So we loved the clients that we had, but no new ones were coming in at the time. I kept affirming abundance, holding the vision, doing what they told me to do, right? Go to prayer, go in the silence, go to silent unity. And still the flow wasn't coming. And it slowed to a trickle. So then one morning during my quiet time, I felt a gentle nudge from Spirit. And I knew at that time, I instantly knew what it was. I was holding on to a resentment, very, very subtle, that I tucked away from a client that we had of a past business transaction that didn't end so good. And I told myself I'd forgiven it. I'd let that go. I already worked on that. Sound familiar, right? I even prayed about it, journaled, did all the things. And then I shoved it in the spiritual closet. Anyone ever do that? I don't want to look at it anymore. I did it. I've already been there. So that unprocessed energy was still in my energetic field. So I had to go deep. It actually felt like it was static between me and my good. Like you can see it right there, but why isn't it coming to me? I mean, this is applicable to your health, your finances, your relationships. So when I realized this, I made a choice. And that choice was to go deep, for real this time. And I realized that if I don't literally do my work, I'm cheating no one but myself. So that's the deep work. And within days, new clients started coming in. It shifted. I have so many stories like that back and forth. I mean, I've shared some with you for the times I've been here, but that one was real as well. And I'm sure that when you look back in your life, if you've done the work, you'll see that shift as well, because your energy changed. The flow returned, and it wasn't that I was doing something different, it was because I cleared the energy, that I was no longer blocked. And so that goes to the idea of radical forgiveness, right? And forgiveness is not just a moral virtue, it's prosperity in practice. It's how we scrape off what I call spiritual barnacles. Yeah, we all have them, right? We open ourselves when we do that work, because number one, it's work. Number two, it gets to be done. Number three, when we don't do it, it builds up, and then we stop working. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's like, oh, it's work to brush my teeth, every single one. I used to tell my children, the only ones you have to brush are the ones you want to keep. So don't worry about it, just think about that, right? So when we do the work of scraping off our spiritual barnacles, we are blessed because life shifts for us. And it's not because someone came to save us. It's because we did the work. We took responsibility for our lives and how we show up for ourselves, and therefore how we show up for others in community and in family. And so I'm going to read a scripture from Luke 6:37. Forgive and you will be forgiven. Give and it will be given to you. So this goes along the same lines of forgiveness. Not the kind that says, it's fine, I forgive you. And this is me talking to not just I forgive you to another person, but it's I forgive you to myself. Because whatever interaction I have with another person, I always kind of, let's take a look at that mirror. How's this coming back to me? So it's the kind of forgiveness that says, I will no longer allow this pain to block my flow. I will no longer allow this pain to block my flow. So it's an energetic cleanse, it clears our channels, and it makes room for grace of God. Like God could be right there, but you're closed to it. So then you don't receive it. And sometimes we have to forgive people who will never apologize. And it's not about you. And of course, we have to forgive ourselves. Oof. Anyone ever said, I'm my worst critic, right? Yeah. That's the master that you need to work with, you against you versus yourself. That's your competition, is yourself. Getting that inner child to calm, right? You get to forgive yourself for not knowing, for forgetting, for failing to live up to your own light. For spending a lifetime, perhaps, many, many years, decades, treading spiritual waters. We all have done this. I'm talking to myself as well. So I'm hoping some of this would resonate. For knowing that what we need to do, but not doing it because we're not ready for one reason or another. And this brings us back to, hey, we get to decide. What will it take? When will it be that you're going to shift the way you're being? So forgiveness is not just moral, it's magnetic. When we forgive, we're called home to our hearts, to ourselves. And so let's talk about being open to receive. It says here, the next slide, please. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. So it comes back to, hey, let's start everything in life with the beginner's mind. It's like, oh, I've already heard this. You're not a teenager. Like, okay, I have a teenager. My teenager is going to be 18 next month. And it's always already listening. It's all of these things, right? He informs me of what I need to share. And I know that, Mom. I've heard this so many times. But wait, there's something else. So it's just being aware that sometimes we may show up as that teenager. Like, I don't want to hear this anymore. But wait. So the opposite of already knowing, always already knowing, is the beginner's mind. It is a heart that is curious, that stays soft, that is willing to see anew. And with that heart, you get to meet yourself where you're at instead of flowing your good, instead of blocking your good, right? It's the secret doorway to prosperity. Because a beginner's mind is open, and that openness receives. You can't receive with a closed fist. So open your heart, open your fist, open your energetic field. When we approach life with humble wonder, we clear the static. And then we tune into the frequency of divine flow. And my friends, prosperity doesn't come from striving. It comes from surrendering into alignment. So we know all these principles. They're great principles. That's why we're all here. But if we're not aligned, we show up like how? Blame, shame, criticism, complaint. So when something is up, it's like, oh, something I get to look at. First and foremost, myself. How am I showing up? And then you get to do your work. And then once you clear the flow, oh my gosh, the situation changed. All of a sudden, I met the love of my life. It's a whole different story. All of a sudden, my business is prosperous again. All of a sudden, I'm blessed. And you are. You really are. You just get to see it now because now your heart is open and it is open to receive the prosperity that's always been yours. So in Matthew 5:16, it says, let your light shine. This is the next slide. So when we're in alignment, we don't just react to the world like a thermostat. We become the rheostat. We set the tone to life. This is being in alignment. So we have all these principles. We come together in spiritual practice. We go to scripture. We go prayer and meditation. But how aligned are you? Are you doing it on the surface or are you going deep, right? So a rheostat is like an old-fashioned dimmer switch. It doesn't just turn the light on or off. It controls how much the light flows through. That's you. And that's who we can be in our spiritual lives. We're not reacting to the temperature out there, because there's always going to be some kind of weather, right? Especially right now. Hello, I'm in Florida. We get to decide how much love, how much light, how much abundance we allow into our life. That's big. That's power. That's divine power. That's partnership with God, right, with Spirit. Then your heart becomes the lighthouse. Lighthouses don't hide or dim or kind of close up when they feel vulnerable. They just shine because you're aligned. You're never alone. There's no fear. You're vulnerable, but you can stay centered and grounded and firm in your vulnerability. So that's what it means to live from prosperity consciousness. I know that this community has done study after study after study. I'm just sharing what has occurred and unfolded and what I was asked to talk about today. Not asked by a person, asked from Divine Spirit. And it's not that we have to cultivate prosperity. It's not that we have to develop prosperity. We just get to embody it. It's in the embodiment, meaning taking it in our body, clearing the energetic field, opening up to receive it, is how we become a blessing onto the world. So, my friends, you are abundant in form. We're not just abundant beings, we are abundant, the principle abundant. Prosperity is not a reward, it's a resonance. It's not based on how good you've been or how well you pray or beg or cower or whatever word you want to use. It's based on how open you are to the source within. So we can stop performing, we can stop negotiating with lack, we can stop bartering, we can stop pretending to play small, because you're not small. Your heart is huge, your energetic field extends, right? And we remember who we are. And it's in this remembrance that we return to flow. So much so that you don't just jump into the flow, you become the flow. But you can't become the flow if you have barnacles on you. It's going to itch or whatever, right? So, my friends, truth is universal. And in every tradition, every culture, I put some quotes up. Every culture, every sacred text points to this same truth, that you already have what you're seeking, that the divine has planted it. It's implanted in you. You are God seed. You're not separate from source. You are the place. You are the place. That source becomes visible. Was Christina just said that we are the hands and the eyes and the ears of God. So we're talking about the same thing. We didn't even call each other to coordinate, right? So our work here is to remove our blocks, to open our heart, and to live from that divine remembrance. And this is what it means to have a prosperous heart. And so I'm going to share another really great story with you. So not long ago, I was preparing for a workshop. And in that same prosperity flow that I've been talking about all morning, that everything was ready and everything was lined up, my ducks in a row. Then about a day or so before the event, 2 people had canceled. And so my old self, the ones with the barnacles on it, right, would have gone straight into, oh no, what does this mean? What am I going to do? They won't like me. But instead, I just said, well, God's in charge. I'm not. I'm just here. I'm just the channel. And so I took a breath and I reminded myself that I am the prosperous heart. And my supply isn't dependent on head count, on who shows up or who doesn't, because my source is infinite and God knows my good. And I know my good knows me, right? So that afternoon, after doing this realization, that afternoon, I'd receive a call from someone who I hadn't heard from in years. And she said, Evie, I don't know why I'm calling you today, but I feel like I'm supposed to work with you. So that single client's work more than paid for the workshop. It wasn't anything that I was striving for. God just brought it, right? It reminded me, more importantly, that that's how prosperity works. I don't know if anyone remembers, but I shared with you several talks ago about how my husband came into my life. I'd done the energetic clearing. I just declared, God, I'm just going to be alone for the rest of my life because this is my list. This is what I want in a man. So that's it. I'm not going to be alone forever. 7 days later, he showed up. We've been married for 20 years. So energetic clearing, that's all it is, right? So it's not earning prosperity. It's not bargaining for it, but living as the prosperous heart. So let's speak this truth together. It's coming home to our heart, right? So right now I'm going to invite you into an embodiment process. I always like to do embodiment because sometimes we get so thinky and then we forget to embody, and that doesn't serve us. So take a deep breath into your body temple and place one hand on your heart if you're called, another on your belly. Breathe and just connect with your body. Only takes a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say a phrase and I'm going to invite you to repeat it. But before you repeat it, I want you to really feel it. So I'm going to say it, you're going to feel it, and then I'm going to say repeat. Inhale to begin. I release. Repeat. I release. I forgive. I forgive. Did you feel it? Okay. I forgive. Good. I open. Feel it? Repeat. I open. Yes. I am the prosperous heart. Repeat. Okay, let's say that again. This time, feel it. I am the prosperous heart. Repeat. I am the prosperous heart. I live in divine flow. Feel it. Repeat. I live in divine flow. One more time. I live in divine flow. Beautiful. I'm going to say amen to this. Someone said something over there? Okay. So with that, I just want to thank you. You can go ahead to the next slide. I just want to say thank you for having me here today. I hope that this message served you in one capacity or another, and just remember that as God is our source and we partner with God, we are always, always so well resourced. Keep that in mind. Your prosperity is endless because there's only one power and one presence, and we are the emanation, the living energetic body of that. And our beingness here is not simply to survive, it is to thrive. And so it is. Amen.